Hello, everybody. I am Stuart Sternberg, and I'm joined tonight by Darlene Nagy, Lottie Ferguson, and Kurt. And later on, John Maloney will drop by to join us. So tonight we are going to discuss what goes into a fifth gate should Disney decide to build a fifth park. Last week we were talking, should they not build a fifth park? And I think the conclusion was, eventually it will happen, but not anytime soon. I think that was the consensus. But tonight we're going to go inside the fifth park. Now, before we get inside the fifth park, where do you think a good place on Disney World property would be for a fifth gate?
It's got to be somewhere over behind Animal Kingdom based off of available land yet.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we know they're not going to knock down, what is it, Golden, where all they have those multi-million-dollar homes?
Golden Oak.
Golden Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not going to knock that down.
Yeah. So if it's over by Animal Kingdom, I mean, that's good for us, Darlene, because we're actually closer to Animal Kingdom than we are to the other parks.
Correct. That would be perfect.
Yeah, it would be.
It has to be far enough away from Animal Kingdom, though, that they could do a nighttime show, or else you're going to freak out all the animals. So just in that sector, though, it's got to be over in that sector.
Yeah, they could do they could always arrange for a show on the far opposite end of where the closest part to Animal Kingdom is. But anyway, let's assume that's where it'll be, and let's venture into the park. Now, what type? Let's go around, Darlene. What type of park would you like to see there? Like, what would be the most exciting thing for you?
Avengers. Character meet and greets with all of the cast would be nice. Black Panther or Black Panther. Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah. Thor. Just saying. Doctor Strange. Something like that. Since villains would be great too. You could bring in Cruella, you could bring in Jafar, you could bring in so many different villains.
Yeah.
So I just gave you two.
Okay. Well, are you breaking them into lands, or are you just looking at general?
We'll get into that later on. We don't have to get that into it that much right now. It's just like what you'd like. This is just what you'd like to see in the park.
I'd like to see something new that's never been done that isn't necessarily related to an attraction. So, they originally, what became Big Thunder Mountain, that was based off of another attraction that didn't get built in Adventureland. Mm-hmm. So some of this original ideas going back decades that they considered making, but just, I don't know if this is going to work. Tweak some of those so it's not just based off of a movie. Be creative. Do something new, not based off of a movie.
Yeah. How about you, Lottie?
I was thinking about a Pixar park. I really just want to see Radiator Springs Racers in Florida. I know we've got a lot of Pixar IP, already in other parks, Toy Story Land for one, but there's so many more Pixar movies, and I would love to see little details that reference or call back to some of the Pixar shorts, especially some of the more recent ones. I want to see a Pixar park or a food park, all food.
Isn't that what Epcot World Showcase is?
Isn't that what Disney Springs is? You've already got that.
Yeah, we can do it again. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'd like to see them do something completely different that you can't find in the other parks. From the moment you step in the gate, you realize that, you're in a Disney park, but it's not a typical Disney park. Maybe borrow from some of the things they've done in other Disney parks overseas, whether it be Hong Kong, China. But when I say borrow, I mean, don't exactly replicate it or even duplicate it, but
they can duplicate it. We'll never see it.
Yeah,
You and I will never see it.
Yeah, most of us maybe not, but
Right.
you never know. But I'd like to see them do something along that line, but go heavy on Disney properties that aren't represented so much in the other parks. I think you could use more Pixar. You could use more Marvel. Some franchises that maybe they've always wanted to put someplace in Disney World, but just don't have, but couldn't figure out where or how.
So after we got on the show last week, I was thinking about if they didn't want to open up a fifth park, and what could you do in the other parks? We know for a fact Epcot has Olive World Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice if I know the countries are supposed to be doing stuff to bring in different things, but I think they could add more rides in that section. They could add more rides to Future World. I know they're building Guardians of the Galaxy right now. Cosmic Rewind. Add more countries with a ride or something. They do have room there, and they could put something else in. My fingers are crossed that that's what they're going to eventually do. I know they were trying to plan things for that. Hollywood Studios, I don't think they've used all of the Backlot Express or Backlot area that was used yet. They could put something else in there with Pixar. Animal Kingdom. Yeah.
And just to add on to that whole area that was the animation courtyard.
Yeah.
That's really not being used right now. They could use that entire area and expand, even if they wanted to expand something. Maybe it's not Andy's room, but they could expand something with Pixar if they wanted to do it there. Or I got some ideas for that Pixar land that Lottie was talking about. That's why I was asking, how are we breaking down this? Is this a completely new? I mean, are we kind of taking the best from each of the 4 parks we have now and making something into a new park? Because you could do like a newer version of Tomorrowland or Adventureland or anything like that without going into those parks. Or are we just, okay, this half the park is Marvel Land, this half the park is Pixar Land, this third half, there you go, is all the princesses. It's a lot of halves.
Or how about a Marvel Land where you have heroes on one part and villains on the other part? So you go from heroes to villains.
That sounds like a very good idea. And there's a lot of new ones that came to Disney Plus that they could use.
Yeah. And there are a lot of villains that visit the parks on a regular basis.
But that's what I mean. Would that carry the entire park as just Marvel, though?
Oh, right, yeah.
Or would it be better to open it to people? Like my son is already to the point where he's like, look, I needed to go and see Star Wars or not Star Wars, but Spider-Man because of the multiverse. We're just going to go into that because I don't know how many people have seen it. Because that was my childhood. They brought back so much from my childhood. However, he's like, okay, I've seen it. He really isn't interested in anything new with Marvel. All the new stuff coming out, he has no interest. So I think if you only do a Marvel park, you're really pigeonholing it. So it's only to the people that like Marvel. It's kind of like they didn't do a regular just a Star Wars park because it's just Star Wars. And there's a lot of people that don't care as much about that kind of thing. So now I'm not one of them. I love Star Wars, but there are people that just don't care. So I think they got to be careful going with just one theme. It's going to have to hit multiple themes all around within that park.
Yeah, so I agree with that. You know what I could see Disney doing, because it will rack in more money for them, is to create a one-day experience where you meet at the front gate. You're basically going on a tour with a guide that will take you from one end to the other. That'll cost a small fortune.
It's been discussed.
Yeah. Beastly Kingdom was one of them that was supposed to be like that, but that was just a land. This would be an entire park where it would take you a day, maybe even 2 days to go through.
they were going to take the island. Oh, geez, I can't. I knew
Discovery Island.
Discovery Island. There you go. They were going to take Discovery Island and make it a mist island, where you stepped off the boat and you began your tour, and it was you made the tour yourself. You had to find your way around and out or something. I forgot how they were theming it, but it was going to be like that. So they had discussed that, and it never came to fruition. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like you talked about a Marvel land where you could have a Marvel land with all the superheroes, and you could walk through a portal, and here's all the villains.
Yeah, so it would be like a boutique park where it could cost a person $500 a day to go through.
Oh,
would that be a one-time experience, or
that's the problem with something like that?
What's the repeatability? Right? What's the repeatability, or would they even care if you have so many people wanting to come, and you're providing this ultra exotic getaway from the other four parks that would be unique to that person and their travel party?
I think that's why it's never been built.
That could be why. But are we getting to the point where maybe that's something they would do? I mean, look at the Star Wars resort. That's a boutique resort that's getting top dollar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you did something like Marvel, you could do New York, Asgard, Wakanda. You got all these different places, so it wouldn't necessarily be like there would be just one spot for heroes and villains. You've got all of these immersive lands that are possible.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But what kind of attractions are going to each of these lands, or are they going to be more of a, as you walk through, maybe it'll be just portal, and it's going to be virtual reality as you're going through each of these lands virtually.
See, if I go to Disney, I'm not paying for virtual reality. I do that at home.
Yeah, that's true. I think that, whatever ideas they have today will change tomorrow and will change again the next day. So, I was just throwing out another idea that maybe they could do something like that. I'm not saying I would want that. I don't think I would want a boutique resort, because you're eliminating a large percentage of people who could or would go through something like that by making it too unaffordable for them.
And that's why I still think the verdict is out on that Star Wars resort. I know it's sold out now, but let's talk 2 or 3 years down the line and see how that's still going.
You know what? I think because of the limited, not to get off top, but I think we're discussing this with a park, but I think with the limited number of spaces within that resort, I think it will be successful for many years, and maybe even spur on another, maybe a different themed resort, whether it be a Marvel resort of similar nature, that will also be successful, because you're limiting the space available, so it becomes a more of a once in a lifetime want to do attraction, maybe even more than once in a lifetime, because that your experience is going to be different every time you go, even though a lot of it's the same, I guess. I don't know, not having seen it.
Expanding on that, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about Marvel, we talk a lot about Pixar, but we do have Lucas. Yes. Or it would be nice if we could grab the Spielberg property with that, because I'm telling you what, a Goonies theme park area would be awesome. A Goonies theme park attraction would totally rock.
And we discussed Zootopia last week too.
Yes.
Right.
I was going to bring that up for Animal Kingdom again, because I just think that would be such a cool thing to bring everything right in there.
And I think what Darlene mentioned before, I think that's going to happen first, where they're going to fill in pockets in the theme parks before they go to a fifth park. We don't know what their we know their strategy is right now. They want, their preference is the one time or once in a lifetime guest, or once in a long time guest who's going to spend mega bucks going on a Disney vacation, rather than people who go often, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, because they're not going to spend as much. Like, they know, I hate to say it, but they know us annual pass holders are going to come, spend a couple hours, and we're out of there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to be losing too much by not selling the right now. All those annual passes are on hold. If they needed annual pass holders back, those would be on sale right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So those aren't really necessary right now. Sorry, guys.
No,
I mean, I think all of us are annual pass holders. I don't know how much longer I'll be an annual pass holder, but that price is really skyrocketing. Unless I was in Florida and get that Florida price, that would be different.
And they're skyrocketing here in Florida too. So I think what people are going to want, I think what Disney's going to want to do is create a different kind of experience in a fifth park. Something that will bring enough revenue for them, but to have revenue, you need guests. So what do you think is the most likely thing you could see them doing if the park were going to be built tomorrow? We know it's going to change if it's 10 years from now or more.
I think they're going to probably, like we all said, aim certain areas on different IPs and then find a way to meld them all together. I don't think there's going to be one theme park only on Marvel or one theme park only on Zootopia. And I think once they start talking about all these different lands, then like we've kind of said, we're like, well, hey, there's room over here in Disney Hollywood Studios. Well, it would be a heck of a lot cheaper if we just bulldoze what's there right now that's not being used than it would to have to completely gut a forested area, which they're going to hear a lot from the wildlife people about that then, and then completely gutting anything else. It'd be easier to they've already got the land there. They already got people coming in. So they're guaranteed to have guests to come in if they fix that land and build something new versus if you just go fresh, it's going to be hard. And that's why I question the fifth park altogether, but it's definitely not going to be themed in one area. If they are, they're going to have to do different lands within there. And that's how I don't know how they're going to meld them together.
And I want to say something about the fifth park that I mentioned last week. I was one who said that I think we could see it not being built sooner, but that I could see them making an announcement sooner than later. Once Darlene had brought it, because she had mentioned this to me after the show, that they could fill in spots, and she mentioned Epcot and Animal Kingdom. I started to think more about it. I go, now I don't know what they're going to do. Do I think they need a fifth park? I think they will need it sooner than later, but think about how businesses run there. Most businesses, I don't want to say most, but generally speaking, businesses will be penny wise and dollar foolish because they don't have or they don't want to spend that kind of money that it would take to build, in this case, a fifth park. We know Disney has it, but do they think it's going to be wiser for them now at this juncture to fill in gaps, to spread out the crowds, or to continue to raise prices to spread out, or to alleviate the crowds, I should say, or a little bit of both? I think we're going to see a little bit of both. I think prices will continue to rise. I think they'll fill in the gaps. And, that takes time and money. And then I think we'll see at that point, are the crowds still coming? Is the economy doing well? Is it time now for a fifth park?
Yeah.
Good.
I think filling in the gaps, when you got how many more spots are available in World Showcase they could do? They could still, at some point, if they want to fund it, in Germany, they've got the room back there for an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So they could still do the attraction within Germany that never got built. I believe there's... what was that, Lottie?
Rhine River Cruises.
Yeah. So that's what was supposed to be built. They got the footprint for it. They've got the area there. There is still room around the Magic Kingdom if they wanted to expand that. We know as tiny as it is, there's room there behind over where Toy Story Land is, where they could expand that way if they needed to. It could be like Toy Story Land is kind of like a little bit. It's not just a little kid land. It's kind of that tween land. You could go with Zootopia over there, and even in that land, if you didn't want to go, well, I thought the best place to do Zootopia would be to go to Animal Kingdom. Right now, you take that express back to the affectionation station.
Rafiki's
Planet Watch. If that's not a very, as far as I know, it's not a very popular area to go back to right now. So if you took those tracks and went a little bit farther, there's your Zootopia.
Yeah. Or Dinoland. They could just completely redo that, and that,
not a lot of room in there.
Or cut down Dinoland significantly and then fit it in there, but it would be a scaled down Zootopia. Right. I don't know if you want to scale down Zootopia.
Right. Because there's a retention pond behind there. Because I looked into that. That retention pond's a pretty big retention pond for expanding that back. You're really surrounded by water. But if you go back behind where Rafiki's Planet Watch is, that's where we're talking. Here's all this space for the fifth park. Well, we could expand Animal Kingdom back there with a Zootopia themed area. It would be a heck of a lot cheaper to just build a themed area than a full themed park. And then you could, as you got done, again, we talked about that. Now that's done. Great. Now let's come back over to Disney Hollywood Studios and work on whatever we're theming over there that's Pixar related. I'm still waiting for that Monsters Inc. attraction with all the doors.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So, you still got area for doing that. Over at Epcot, again, we just got done talking about that. So they could do it in stages rather than trying to put all your attractions in one bucket at a theme park. And then cross your fingers that it works.
Yeah, I think we're going to see something like that. Maybe not what we're discussing here, but I think we'll see something along those lines where things will get filled in first. But let's say there is a fifth park. How cool would it be if you're in a fifth park, to go from one land to another, you have to get on, whether it's a train or some kind of vehicle, to transport you from one land to the other. You can't just walk in and transition to it. That might be pretty cool to do too, where you go, from Marvel Land to something else.
Isn't the park up the street already doing that?
No. I'm not saying that, but they're doing that for logistic reasons because they physically can't. Here you could, but to kind of deceive the guest from the transition, but rather than, because it might be a break, because you might go from from one type of land to something else that's completely different. I don't have an example. So you get in a ride vehicle to transport you over there. It could be 2 feet, but this way you don't see the break from one land to the other.
I think they're doing that up the street.
Yes, but they're doing it because there's a parking lot in between or a resort or something. They just physically couldn't do it. Here, the lines would be together because it's one big space, but you're deceiving the guest.
I'm
not saying that's going to happen.
How much did it cost to build Batuu? Wasn't it like $1 billion to build Batuu?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but I don't know.
That's a lot of money. So now we're talking about you've got every time you build a new attraction, you're trying to one up the one you did before.
Oh, of course. And they do very well with that, Disney.
So if one section of land that has 2 attractions and a lot of interactive stuff, but it's technically only 2 attractions, cost $1 billion. I'm really afraid of what the price tag would be, especially without any sponsorship help, because no one wants to sponsor anything anymore.
I know.
So I don't know where that money's coming from. Yeah. Hong Kong Disneyland and I think China both had, wasn't it the Oriental building? What was that called? It's like the Oriental Trade or Oriental Building Company or something like that. Whatever that was called, they were the ones funding that. Disney didn't fund those parks, and they're like, hey, just whatever it takes, build it. I wish I could get over to see those attractions because they just sound incredible to get those, but I just don't think it's good. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that can happen.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get over there in my lifetime to see that. My next lifetime.
That's why I lived through Lou's eyes when he goes over there and talks about it.
Yes, it's very nice to do that, isn't it?
That or YouTube.
And by Lou, Kurt is referencing Lou Mangello of WDW Radio, the most awesome podcast you'll find anywhere. I think it's going to be very difficult for Disney to do something that they haven't done in the other 4 parks. Do I think they can do it? Yeah, but there's a cost for it. It is easier, like Darlene had mentioned, fill in the gaps. And, the rest of you mentioned also.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of lands they could put in different spaces. Will they have enough room for them?
Yeah, they got room.
They got room.
They got a lot of room to expand. Even Disney Hollywood Studios, technically, if you're talking about being transported somewhere else, they could transport over next to that Star Cruiser, and you wouldn't even know that you were doing that. So they can get you underground and around over to the other side. I mean, technically, Pirates of the Caribbean is not within the actual railroad. It's on the outside of it. You go underneath and then you come back.
All right, so let's go around the 4 parks, and everybody will give their opinion. You can give 2 answers if you want. It could be pre-pandemic and current. How many days it takes to get through each park comfortably, where you can say you've done not everything, but most of everything, or maybe your top 10 things you wanted to do. Darlene, we'll start with you. Let's go Magic Kingdom.
How long?
How many days? 1 day, 2 days?
I would say probably 2 days.
Okay. 2
days. Because you want to take your time. Between the rides, the food, the shopping, definitely need 2 days.
Yeah, and I'll mention where I'm going with this when we get finished. All right, Lottie.
Okay, so I got to give 2 answers here.
It's okay.
1 day if I'm by myself, 2 days with kids.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just letting you guys know that John will be joining us shortly, and we'll let him partake in this discussion too. Kurt, how about yourself?
Magic Kingdom is a 2-day park. Some of the attractions you just want to see twice. Otherwise, yeah, a lot of times we're hitting the left half in 1 day and the right half in the other day for the major headliner attractions.
Yeah, my answer would be 2 days too, whether it's pre or post pandemic. Let's go to Disney's Hollywood Studios next.
Disney's Hollywood Studios. I can do that one normally in a day.
Okay. Lottie.
That's 2 days. 1 day for Star Wars and 1 day for everything else.
Kurt.
1 day. It's a 1 day park.
Yeah, John, we're just mentioning how long we think it'll take to get through each theme park. We did the Magic Kingdom. We're on Disney's Hollywood Studios. So if you're to get through comfortably, you can give 2 answers. You can do pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, or if it's the same, just however much you think it is right now. The way it's constituted right now.
And which park?
Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Hollywood Studios. I think it depends on how much you're a Star Wars fan. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you could spend close to a whole day in Batuu. Mm-hmm. But if you're a casual Star Wars fan, or Star Wars is not as big a deal for you, I mean, it's at least a whole day park.
Okay. Yeah, and I say it's a whole day park too. All right, let's move over to Epcot, Darlene.
Epcot, me being an adult, probably 2 days.
Well, she's taken 1 day to drink around the world, so hold on. We're talking with or without alcohol. How are we doing the touring?
I'm going with Lottie. What do you think?
Oh, forget it. It's a week.
Yeah, Lottie, how many days?
Epcot, if Food and Wine Festival is going on, I'm taking 3 days.
Oh,
there's always a festival going on there. All right.
That's what my son-in-law says.
Kurt.
It's really a day and a half park if you get right down to it.
Full days. I don't want a half day. Full days.
Okay, I'm taking 1 full day and going from open to close and taking a short break in the middle so I can go back and relax out of the heat. Right.
Right.
Open to close.
Now remember, the park is only open from 11 to like 9.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a lot of food that you want
They
to
open an
eat,
hour
how
early.
are you get only 30 minutes? How are you going to get all your food in?
Well, I need 3 days. I got to eat it all.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, John? How many days?
Well, I never do Epcot. I never go to Epcot in the beginning of from opening until closing, but I would say 2 days if you've never been there before. For me personally, breaking it apart, a total of 1 day.
So I think you can do it in 1 day, but if you want to do it comfortably is the key word here. If you want to do it comfortably, I would say 2 days. You know, because I know when our kids were little, and this is pre-pandemic, we would break it down. We would go spend 1 day in Future World, 1 day in World Showcase, and we know Future World is getting built up again, and some of those walls will be going down this year. Fingers crossed. So I would say 2 days. All right. Animal Kingdom, Darlene.
Animal Kingdom 1 day.
Lottie.
Uno.
Kurt. 1 for Kurt. John.
1.
I agree across the board.
Yep. Same here. 1 day. All right. Now, and the reason I asked you this, because we were discussing a 5th park, what would go in it, how would they do it. And Darlene brought up a good point to me off the show, after the show last week, which changed my thinking about when a 5th park is going to come. There's so many gaps to fill in. And I think each park except Magic Kingdom, really. So if they were to fill in those gaps first before they built the 5th park, and you go back now to those parks, would it change the number of days you picked for any and all of those parks?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many days do you think it would be to do Epcot if they filled in all the gaps? And this is under the assumption that Future World gets done like this year or the next year. Would it be a true 2-day park, or would it go to a 2.5 or 3-day park?
You definitely would need more time at Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at the 2 parks with the most attractions. And that's why it takes so long to go through the Magic Kingdom. There's like 45 attractions there.
Yeah, there is.
It does add a big dynamic, and that is, do you have enough time to see all of the things you want to see if you had a 5th park? I mean, I know today, if I go down there for 3 days, I mean, first of all, I can't even reserve all 4 parks in a 3-day trip, and I have to start to make some choices. So depending on the length of your trip, if you have that many more choices, you have to exclude some things that you might want to see, but it also gives you more of a reason to want to come back.
Yep, absolutely.
Disney would be happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, right. Because the reason to come back, or expand the time you're going to spend there.
Yeah, the folks from the UK would love that.
Oh, absolutely. They come for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot they can do by filling in the gaps. I think there's a lot they can do with a 5th park. The problem I'm having with a 5th park now, it's like I want to see them do something different that they haven't done yet, at least here in the US. But what do they do? Like, John, you've seen other parks from around the world. You've been to Disneyland Paris, if I'm not mistaken, and Hong Kong or China?
Tokyo.
Okay.
So we see that in the parks, in the different parks, both here in the US and around the globe. You'll see things that are familiar, and you'll see things that are different. So I don't think that there's a lack of imagination, and I don't think that there's a lack of content to do that. And I think those other parks help bear that out. We had the discussion last week about whether we think it's coming soon or we don't think it's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is, well, without revisiting it, I think there's enough to sustain a park.
Yeah, and I think I was the only one who said it'll come sooner than later. But like I said, Darlene, when she brought up all the gaps and she explained like what you could do here, here, and here in each park, it got me to change my mind. I do think they will at this point, but and it's cheaper for them to fill in the gaps than it is to construct a whole new park.
That was my whole point.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all along, is that I don't think with the way everything's going and how they've been doing things, I don't think they have enough money to create a whole new park right now.
They've got the money. It's just, do they want to spend it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Well, and like we talked last week, it gives them the opportunity to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
It is an investment to draw more guests, or to give more guests opportunity to spend money in other places. It's a spectrum. There's trade-offs, but I think it provides a bigger opportunity for Disney to make more revenue as compared to more tactically and on a smaller basis filling the gaps. And I think there's some room for both.
Yeah, here's my concern though. It goes a little bit beyond Disney. They're going to continue to build resorts which will bring in more guests. So where do you put them? And getting off of Disney property, there's hotels being refurbished, being built, vacation homes all over the place, more people moving down to the area. It's going to get to the point where do you put everybody on any given day, which I think is why Disney has and will continue to have the reservation system. But that also creates unhappiness among people who can't make a reservation for certain parks on certain days. So they're doing a juggling act now, and I think that juggling act is only going to increase as time goes on, with more resorts and vacation homes and homeowners calling Florida home in the future.
Well, and we've heard that Disney is doing a lot of surveying of household incomes.
Yes. Yeah, and we know what that's for, without getting into it. But I don't know. I think they've got a lot on the plate. I think they know the direction they're going in. We don't know the direction they're going in, but they certainly do. But John, because we had asked this question before, what kind of fifth park would you like to see? Like, just generally speaking, not getting into any details yet.
What I had hinted at last week was more. I think they have the opportunity to explore more of their IP, more of their properties, and when we talked about how they've tried to spread some of that around already. But I also like, and one of the things I talked about last week is creating something that has these new lands. So I think it certainly has to differentiate itself. And we talked about things, how Cars Land is unique, but if they did something like Zootopia as compared to putting it into Animal Kingdom, and those kinds of worlds, Marvel, whatever. One other thing that I did think that I would like them from a selfish standpoint is when they design the park, to think about how they can incorporate Run Disney events in that park.
Yeah, that's very selfish of you.
If they could make them more race friendly, more event friendly, and make them more interesting. But yeah, that's a selfish reason. But
it's not selfish at all, John. You were clearly thinking of me. I appreciate
Stuart, there you go. Stuart, we're just not going to the park anymore now. We don't need to go.
That's all right. let them go and run around.
They can go to that park, and we can go have fun over in Batu.
That's right.
That works. Okay.
Yeah, very true. It's. I would be very interested to see what they may have on a drawing board for a fifth park, should they ever build one, and how they would do it. I do think they would make it unique with lands we haven't seen before. There could be a movie that comes out 2 or 3 years from now that we know nothing about that could be a big smash hit, and it'd be like, wow, we've got to create a land around this. We just don't know. So no matter what we're thinking today, it's subject to change tomorrow.
Well, they don't know either, and they're not.
No, they don't.
They're not big on investing in major attractions for a property that hasn't been proven.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I do think they've got an opportunity here to do a lot within the current parks. What about taking one of the water parks and transforming that into a fifth gate? Do they really need 2 water parks? Because they operated last year with 1, and right now there's only 1 open.
You want to turn the water park into like a Disney Seas? Like they have in Tokyo?
Yeah, you could do something like that too. Or you could just eliminate the water from the park altogether, and you can just demolish everything and start from scratch. And use that area rather than go to Animal Kingdoms.
You're looking at a half-day park, like Lottie's saying. I don't know if there'd be enough room. It's more of a half-day park size.
But wouldn't that be enough to alleviate some of the crowds?
That's how all the parks have started out. You started out Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, both started out smaller, and they build up.
Yeah. Something I would personally like to see, it'll never happen in a million years, is do a theme park based on something you might see in the 1900s. You'll never see it because it won't hold anyone's attention for more than 2 seconds. Kids will walk in there and go like, oh, this is stupid. Let's get out of here. But that's something that would intrigue me.
We walk through that right now. It's called Main Street USA.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about the wooden roller coasters.
Well,
the problem with attractions.
The problem with the wooden roller coasters is you've got to constantly replace all that wood.
Kurt, I didn't say it was a good idea. I did say that most people would walk in and out of there in like 5 minutes of that.
Google Six Flags Auto World in Flint, Michigan, and you'll understand what people don't do.
Even Darien Lake.
Yeah. Oh no, we don't want a Six Flags. That's the last thing we want.
Yeah, I think it's called Six Flags now up in New York too.
Yeah, no offense to Six Flags, but that's how not to do a theme park.
We know.
Yeah. It would be very interesting to see. Like, if there's one thing and one thing only you want to see in a fifth park, what would it be?
Food.
Definitely a lot of rides.
In a new theme park or in an expansion?
No, a new theme park.
He said new
theme park. Okay, new theme park.
The one thing above anything else you want to see there.
I want to see something related to the Society of Explorers and Adventurers.
Oh, ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by let's not go towards something that's already a movie. This is something they've created based off of a lot of their IP anyways. That's the direction I want to go.
Lottie, how about yourself?
Really, food.
All right, that's cool. John.
More food.
Oh, did you ask me?
Yeah, John. What about yourself?
Well, I won't say sci-fi dine-in theater, and I won't say a running track. I would like the idea of a land, a whimsical land, something. I mentioned Zootopia. I think I mentioned last time on this show, Winnie the Pooh and the 100-Acre Wood, or another idea. Big Hero 6 had San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whimsical land that's unique and different from everything else. Kind of like Cars Land is I'd love to have Cars Land, but I wouldn't bring it. But having that complete land that's whimsical and different.
Yeah. For me, I know a lot of you mentioned this before, Wakanda. Doing a land based on, but I'd like to see, what I'd like to see is where you enter one attraction and it will and they do this with Rise of the Resistance. So it feels like you're in a few different attractions, but do something like that, like build a Wakanda land where you're going from you're in one attraction and it leads you to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So you're actually doing 3 or 4 attractions within the land, and then bring you out where there's food.
Well, or have food booths in the middle, so in between the sections.
Oh,
so you're kind of living something. You're living in the world.
We saw this, and I don't know why. It was just like I couldn't believe it. It just I was like seething inside, but not letting it show outside. At least I don't think I was letting it show outside. We were online waiting for the Navi River. And what's in the middle of the freaking queue? There's a refreshment stand. That's so classless, Disney. I'm sorry. It just is.
Not if you're waiting for an hour and a half in the queue.
I don't care. Get off the freaking line and go someplace else and get a drink.
Here, I was just thinking, I just realized that when you exit either Rise of the Resistance or Smuggler's Run, you don't exit into a gift shop.
No, you don't.
That's different. However, you're kind of surrounded by everything. But, I didn't realize there's a refreshment stand right in the middle of your other attraction over there in Animal Kingdom, though. Holy cow.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Was it alcohol?
No.
Oh, forget it. Why are they doing it? Darlene's not going to go anymore. And Lottie's out.
You know what?
It was pop, and I don't drink that much pop anymore anyways.
But Kurt hit a good point. If you're waiting online for 2 hours, you're right, put alcohol there so you don't know how long you're waiting. But yeah, I just think it's classless to have something like that.
They have a water. It was right next to the water station too, where you could fill your own water.
Yeah, I know.
Which was active again.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I just don't like that. I understand why they're doing it, but it's just that's a pet peeve of mine. It's like, get it out of it. Like the people who stop in the middle of an aisle to see the Muppets 3D vision
and block everything.
Yeah, it's just those are my pet peeves.
Yeah, they stop in the middle of the walkway and open up a big old map.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or stand 12 across.
Bend over and tie their shoes.
Speaking, I know we're off topic, but speaking of things that infuriate me at the parks, somebody walks in front of you, they're not wearing a mask. It could be outdoors, and they're shouting at the top of their lungs as they walk by right in your face. Like just
they cough. They start coughing as they're walking past you.
That hasn't happened to me yet, but yeah, I don't know. So fifth park. But before we get back to the fifth park, let's talk about the fifth wonder of the world, the greatest wonder of the world, the only wonder of the world, the absolute, the best, the greatest, bar none, Mouse Fan Travel. So if you want to go to Disney World, Disneyland, take a Disney cruise, Adventures by Disney, they've got more Adventures by Disney coming out soon, real soon, that you can book. Don't book with anybody else. Go with the very best. Forget the rest. It's Mouse Fan Travel. Every day, all the way, the only way, your budget, your plan, their assistance, the best way to travel. You won't regret it. We all use them, and there's a reason we all use them, and thousands upon thousands upon thousands use them. They are simply the very best. To find out more information about Mouse Fan Travel and all their wonderful deals that they've got going on right now, go to www.mousefantravel.com. That is www.mousefantravel.com, and let them know that WDW Fan Zone sent you. All right, so a fifth park. John, I think you're the only one here who's seen other parks overseas. Have anyone else? I think we've opened to Disneyland and Disney World, but nobody's been elsewhere. How do you think Disney can construct a new park that would bring people in from day one until forever?
That's a broad question.
Yes, it is. I did that on purpose. You give a broad answer.
Well, I think they have to understand, which I mean, they do a lot of research. They have to understand what it is that draws people. So they already know that for a lot of guests that their intellectual properties draw people. They also know that immersive, more immersive experiences are drawing people. So and theming. So they already know, I think, the basics of what it is that people want and will make them come. Something new, something that is using technology well to tell a story. They know all of those things. They have to put them together in such a way that's going to draw people's attention. And whether you're at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, or Paris, it's all the same kind of thing. And plus, it's got to be something that works for the culture. So the things that work, Euro Disney, now Disneyland Paris, had troubles at first because they weren't gearing things toward that culture, and they had to be careful about Shanghai and Hong Kong as well. So here in Walt Disney World, though, it's mostly U.S., but there's people coming from UK, people coming from Brazil, people coming from Japan, whatever. One of the things I think that they need to do for Walt Disney World is to have something that's got that more universal appeal. And as we've also seen, they have to be careful about keeping it consistent, so that because people, they get there one time and they expect things to be the same way, so they don't do Haunted Mansion Holiday in Walt Disney World.
I know Disney has discussed doing this in years gone by and it never came to fruition in Virginia. Then there was, I don't remember, I know there was another park planned in California. I don't remember the name of it for some reason. I'm just like drawing a blank. But what about letting our European friends or friends coming from Southeast Asia or Asia or other parts of the world or the Pacific, the South Pacific, from other parts of the world coming here to learn about the American culture and build a fifth theme park that will, while you could have different lands there, but also speak to our culture here in America. Not the current one, which isn't so great right now.
We are such a giant melting pot.
We are.
So you're basically looking at depending on which land you're looking at, each of the different cultures that's around the world anyways, when you get right down to it.
No, but I was talking more of the history of this, more about the history of this country.
Right. So if
I know you have the American Pavilion in Epcot, but expand on.
Well, expanding the American Pavilion. You the Revolutionary times, Civil War times, the Old West. A lot of things that happened in the 20th century. Sure.
And not focus on just the good. There's it's not all good. Focus on some of the bad, like slavery.
Yeah, and that's walking a fine. If you're talking about a full park, it still has to have excitement. It still has to have a positive message. And then, they've tried it in Epcot, making it too much edutainment, even though a lot of diehard Disney fans like that. The general population
does not. I know. That's something I do miss. I completely agree with you, John. It's something I do miss. I don't think they'll ever do anything like that because it's just not going to make money for them.
Here's two attractions my kids like to take a nap in: Hall of the Presidents, the American Adventure.
Yeah. But your kids also grew up here. But then again, if you have kids coming from Europe, would they be interested in that? And I think John hit it right in the nose. Too much entertainment.
It's calming music, and while you're watching it, you just tend to relax and fall asleep. That's the edutainment portion.
And the American Adventure is one of the the longer shows too.
Yeah,
American Adventure is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love it, but
the amount of time it takes you have to invest, and especially at the end of the night when Harmonious is going to come on, you're not going to see a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think whatever it is, it's not going to be anything I've mentioned here. So, look, I'm throwing out ideas. I'm not saying they're good, and I'm ready to admit when things are not good. And I don't think that would fly. I think they would have to do something like they're working on that 3D technology without wearing glasses or heads. I think
Like
that's the way
holographic
they're going.
image.
Yeah, that's the way they're going to go with some of the attractions, whether it's be in a space that they fill in or in another theme park.
Well, and we can't forget that Walt Disney World or Walt Disney parks have a long history of ideas that they have on the shelf.
Oh, absolutely.
I talked about that.
Yeah, they pulled those things out, and they have newer attractions now that they've had on the shelf for a long time.
Oh, yeah. And they say at Disney, no idea ever dies. There's always, if they come up with an idea, they may not go back to it for 10, 20 years, but it's still there. And as technology evolves, maybe that idea will evolve too into something else.
And they need to build. So if they're building these different lands, I would love to see them put something akin to the Streets of America into it, so we can bring something back similar to the Osborne family spectacle of dancing lights.
I miss that so much. I love that.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that was the kind of thing where it's like, no, that in itself was an attraction, but it just gave you such a feel-good.
Oh my! And look at the crowds every year grew.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you imagine putting something in like that and designing it into the park?
Yeah.
Where that it was well thought out and everything. It was more seamless. Gosh, that would bring me. You were asking about what kind of thing would bring you into the park.
Yeah,
I think that would be,
yeah, that would be it for me too.
Oh my God. And there's so many Disney fans we know, and regular guests that would pull them in, I think.
Yeah.
Well, to make it politically correct, why don't they just do that in Batuu, and we can celebrate Life Day?
I don't think it fits. I'm not saying they won't do it. I just think it would fit better someplace in the Magic Kingdom if they brought it back.
Well, that's true. I just figured with Life Day, because everyone can celebrate Life Day, just like they did in the Star Wars Christmas.
No, I want them to do.
Or should I call that a show that shouldn't be named?
I want the Osborne family lights back for.
I want the music.
Yeah, I want the music.
That's true. The music was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hidden Mickeys.
Yep.
And the cat, or I guess
the cat. That's right.
Back. The cat was probably given back to the family.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
They could do that in Animal Kingdom because it's not loud-ish. So they could do that somewhere.
It just doesn't fit in Animal Kingdom, though. I'm sorry, but
well, Chester and Hester's maybe, but
that's what I was thinking. Put up some fake buildings in Chester and Hester's area, and do it there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'd go see it if they did it, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, people listening and watching this show, for every good idea we've probably had about 4 or 5 or 10 bad ones, mostly coming from me.
Oh, Stuart.
It's a fifth park. I think no matter what we've come up with here, we probably touched on certain things they would do. But I think whatever they would do would just blow our minds. Because, I think, Kurt, I think you were the one who mentioned it before, that every time they build a new attraction, it's always better than the previous one that they spent $1 billion on.
And that's why I still think it's going to be a long time before they do a fifth park. Yeah. They'll just remodel a land and spend $1 billion there instead of $10 billion for a new park.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Unless they're going to team up with Elon Musk, I don't know how they're going to do that. You know, that have Teslas go point A to point B with driving Teslas or something. I have no idea, and use some of his billions of dollars that he's got laying around. I just don't know if the fifth park. I don't know if they can afford to build it.
Well, or again, I think the thing that would push them would be that they can't afford not to. So I think the big thing that would drive it is the ability to make more revenue. And again, Disney has put out big money to get a return. So, when they bought all of the, Lucasfilm and Pixar and Marvel and Fox. I mean, what did they spend on Fox? $60 billion?
Billions. Yeah.
Yeah. So they find a way to finance the stuff, but they also have a vision for how long it's going to take to pay off.
Yep.
So that would be the only way they would do it, is if they saw that financial return. So I agree that there are lots of other things that they can do, but in the other parks, and I would like to see them do them, but that's not going to bring in another $100 billion over the next 10 years.
Yeah, and let's say they fill in the gaps in the other parks with attractions or shows. Then you've got to concern yourself with, all right, now you've got more guests in the park. You're spreading them out more, but where are they all going to eat? They can't all converge on the number of restaurants that are currently there. Maybe they can.
Every new land that they build, they always seem to add a restaurant in there at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're adding more dining along with everything else that's there.
But look at World Showcase. I think that might be the one exception where they can fit attractions in there, and they have the dining already there. So I don't know that they would need to do it there. But if you do something in Disney's Hollywood Studios, you definitely would have to add another dining experience. Same thing with Animal Kingdom. Although the choice in Animal Kingdom have gotten much better since Pandora was built. Yeah, I think there's a lot that they have to consider. And you're right, John, it's the revenue they would raise from a fifth park. It's just something they can't imagine, even if they filled in the gaps in the current parks with attractions and other things. Yes, it will raise revenue, but not to that extent. So then it comes down to, will they spend the money? And I think what it's going to really come down to, when at some point they're going to say, and I think because of the pandemic, they're not going to realize it for a while. They fill in the gaps in the parks, or they add things to the parks. I don't want to say fill in the gaps. They add more to each park. But the guest experience from the surveys they take isn't where it was before. When that starts to suffer, no matter how much people are spending or how many times they go, that's when they might say, okay, we've got to do something about the lines. Because right now, we know that's the biggest complaint, are the lines, even with Genie Plus. That's been everyone's sore spot.
Do we think they could squeeze more people into Epcot because it's, a larger spread out area, and you talked about putting attractions into some of the existing spaces. So, they've got extra space back behind Japan or some of the other pavilions. I mean, they did it with Remy.
Yeah.
So do we think that that is a way to pull more people in, some more incremental revenue without going too far on making the park too crowded?
Well, Stuart touched on it. They could get more people into Epcot just by dropping a few of those walls.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more area for the people to walk around.
They expand the walkways too.
Yeah.
It's tighter on World Showcase sometimes.
Yep.
In Animal Kingdom, my biggest complaint is the walkways are narrow.
That's by design. In China, it's by design. That's why it's the way it is.
I absolutely
not good during COVID times, but that's why it's designed the way
nobody
it is.
expected what we're going through now.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely by design there. But I just think I know they were trying to create the authenticity of the land. I just wish they would have made it a little bit wider.
Yeah. The Imagineers and operations don't think the same way.
No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
All right. So your ultimate fifth gate. What would be in your ultimate fifth gate? It could be lands, it could be attractions, it could be food. Like what are, if you could build it, what would you put in there today?
Again, I need an entire land that's that Society of Explorers and Adventurers. I want a land with at least 3 attractions there. Whether you want to add in one of the Indiana Jones types attraction or whatever, I need 3 at least.
That's
3
one land.
attractions
I'm talking about the whole park.
That's hey, I don't care. You're not going to get one theme in one park.
You've got like a ton of new characters, like I said, on Disney Plus right now that kids are probably interested in and adults are interested in.
Mhm.
So you could either go that route,
The
or
land or the Book of Boba Fett.
or you could go with
Tatooine.
a you know villains, or a Marvel, or both.
Yeah.
Do all 3.
I mean, you touched on something there, Stuart. You could expand with Boba Fett and the Mandalorian to Tatooine.
Yep.
Which is it's another planet in another theme park.
Yep.
You could do, hey, they did it with Harry Potter Land. It's in both theme parks. They expanded that. So yeah, you could do this.
I hate to say it, but the things that I think about that I could see working in a 5th park would actually work better in Animal Kingdom. Wakanda, Zootopia, Tatooine.
I think it kind of belongs.
Sorry, Tatooine. You're right.
I think it kind of belongs in Epcot. It's more tech than Animal Kingdom.
It's got a point.
And Epcot, we know, is changing. In Future World, they're going to have
Wakanda.
It's not going to be Future World anymore.
Right. Well, you wouldn't have enough of a footprint, I think, to do it justice.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Wakanda would do well in a 5th park.
Yeah, Darlene is on the move.
Gotta let those
her dogs must be
out.
needing a walk.
Stuart, I came up with an idea for how they could do something like Osborne Lights. So they could do parts of New York and make it a Marvel attraction about Hawkeye. Since Hawkeye is around the Christmas time anyway.
Yeah.
And then have the lights in there as well.
Yeah, well, that was season 1. We don't know where season 2 is.
Right. Well, but
you're right. But based on that,
they can come and go. You could only bring them in, in December.
Yeah.
Is there plans for a season 2 of Hawkeye?
Yes, I say that very quickly because it was such a success.
They were all successful, but there's not going to be another. To my understanding, I don't think there's going to be another WandaVision.
And that was the best one.
I'm sorry, Lottie. I cut you off because I was saying something. Sorry about that.
She said that was the best one.
That was the best one.
I don't know if it was the best one, but I liked it a lot. It grew on me as I watched it. But I think we will see another WandaVision. I think they'll all be back. The one that is starting to grow on me now is the Book of Boba Fett. The first episode, I struggled to get through, but it's gotten better each episode after, much better.
Yeah, and that's certainly not a Marvel one, but
no.
Mandalorian, Boba Fett, all of the Marvel limited series, I love them all.
How about a 5th park, Disney Plus? Things that you would find on Disney Plus.
That's everything.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's everything.
It is everything, but no, I mean originals. Original programming.
It could be around the Disney limited series.
Mm-hmm. So each line would be limited in the time that it would be there.
Kind of like Carousel of Progress, and they just kind of spin around, and the next one comes up.
Loki. Oh, that'd be great. That was a good one.
I could see Loki coming back.
I think they all will.
WandaVision isn't coming back. It's who was the evil one in WandaVision?
Oh, she's having her own show. Yeah,
Agatha. Agatha's getting her own series.
Yes.
So they're spinning them off. Because same thing with Loki. I don't know. I mean, they kind of left that hanging there. Is there going to be another Loki?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're Loki. I thought I heard about Hawkeye. I don't know about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Well, that's going to go into Captain America.
Right. Yeah. And Hawkeye, she's going to be Hawkeye. He's trying to retire.
Now, there are reasons they're giving for WandaVision not having announced the second season yet, because Wanda is filming Doctor Strange Part 2.
Right.
The pandemic, getting production, that was another reason given. But we'll see. Time will tell. I think they'll all be back at some point. I think Disney needs to have more original programming like we've got in the first couple of years, and to continue it and add on to that. So I think we will see them all come back. But who knows? Time will tell. Yeah, I don't know. Fifth Park. Wow, what could? There are so many things they could do there that would just draw me. I think that in New York scene, like a Hawkeye with the Osborne Lights at Christmas time, that would kill it for me.
Well, Osborne Lights has become the one thing that I want to see the most in this Fifth Park.
I want to see an attraction that makes Rise of the Resistant look good, but some that will take it a step or two above that. And we know Disney can do it. It's just it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a Marvel created attraction that they could do. Anything. There could be a Disney movie that doesn't really have much of a footprint anywhere that they could put into a fifth park.
The Apple Doppelgang?
Oh God, no, not that.
What if they reach back and got some of the older live action movies and
Apple Doppelgang?
No, like
no.
again and Mary Poppins. What happened to the Mary Poppins thing?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that was so disappointing. That
was.
Yeah.
Maybe we will see it eventually, although they haven't said anything. I think Disney needs to. And don't get me wrong, I know they're committed to the guest experience, but what I think they need to do is spend a little money to put that guest experience there, to satisfy the crowds that are coming.
I don't want my tickets to go up again, Stuart.
I'm sorry?
I don't want my tickets to go up again. Sorry.
It's happening.
It's going to happen no matter what.
I know. I'd rather it be closer to. That's every article I've read. They're like, every time inflation goes up, Disney doubles the amount of inflation, how much things are going to cost. So if the inflation goes up by 3%, Disney raises their prices by 6%. Oh God! It's to the point now where they could do a 3% increase, and it would still be a lot of money. They don't have to increase it as much as they increase it. It's just my 2 cents, but whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you, but I don't think Disney is.
No.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add anything about a fifth park or what they want to see, don't see, anything we haven't discussed yet?
I just hope it's sooner than later, due to the fact that I would like to be able to go to a park and be able to get on stuff.
Well, that's an important thing there, Darlene. If they can open a fifth park, and it's never going to be what you want it to be.
No,
but it is an opportunity to get more of the local annual pass holders into a park.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not the people they're targeting.
No, it's not.
I agree. I'm just saying there might be some added benefit for the pass.
If they opened up a fifth park, I know it's not going to happen a year from now, just for argument's sake. I think you would see some of the crowd levels decrease from the other parks, But I think they have enough people that want to come here to Walt Disney World to fill up all the parks on any given day. And I think the revenue stream from that would outweigh the cost for building the park. Now, do I think it's going to happen tomorrow? No. But you know what? I definitely think it's something that would boost any negative publicity they've gotten through the pandemic. Some of it not deserved, but they're getting it anyway.
Well, when was the last time, other than when the parks first opened after the pandemic, when was the last time you remember it being relatively quiet in a park?
Yeah.
To me, it's 10 years ago.
Yeah, I would go back to 2006 for me.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that, the crowds have increased and increased, and the times throughout the year have filled in because Disney's so good at marketing.
Yep, absolutely. But the crowd levels that we're seeing now, like you said, they're constant. Where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could find
up and down.
Yep, you could find times of the year you said, this is the week I'm going. Like Darlene, when we went to Disneyland, just as an example, that was in 2017, I think.
Yes.
18. There was nobody there. It was a couple of weeks. It was the end of September, beginning of October. It was empty for the most part. It was wonderful.
It was great. We could walk between the two parks and come and go as we pleased, and we didn't have a lot of lines to wait in. Nope.
I went Jersey Week to Walt Disney World in 2006, and with the exception of Lou Mangione, no, actually, it was 2008. I think we saw Lou Mangione. Maybe it was 2006 we saw Lou there. But the parks were empty. Everything was a walk-on. And this was during Food and Wine. And everything was a walk-on because of the week we picked to go down. And everybody else that was there was from New Jersey.
New Jersey Week.
Yeah, well, that's the week that schools are out in New Jersey and for teachers' convention, and the kids aren't supposed to go anywhere. They have a couple of days of school, but all the parents take their kids out to go down to Disney World.
That's funny.
Yeah. I think the days of lulls in the park scheduling is done, finished with. I mean, we see what's going on. Our economy is in a state that we've never seen before in our lifetime. The parks are crowded.
I just had a really scary idea about a fifth park. And that would be...
It can't be anything worse than what I've said.
Well, no. I mean, scary for us regular park goers.
Oh, okay.
If Disney created a park to cater to people that can afford more.
I mentioned that earlier.
Stuart talked about that.
Yeah, a boutique park.
A boutique park, yep. Okay, yeah. You know what? It's a possibility.
Of course it is.
You know what?
Let them already in Orlando.
Yep.
Then let them build it. Let them go build your boutique park, but that's not going to be for the general public.
Right. Well,
but it will create bad press.
Right. Well, the Galactic Star Cruiser is already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm seeing now more than ever when you go to the parks, and you can tell who they are. The tour groups. When I say the tour, I don't mean the tour. The individual tour guides for the group that are hired through Disney.
Yes. Yeah,
I know there's a name for it.
VIP tours.
VIP
tours. Yes.
VIPs.
You're seeing more and more of those throughout the parks. And guess what? That creates longer lines too, and nobody talks about that. But
just give me a Dole Whip.
Yeah,
I'd be curious how much those VIP guides cost, because if you think about it, if you've got a big enough group, and you've got Disney or Genie Plus for everyone, and then you've got the Lightning Lane for everyone. Where's the trade-off?
I think wasn't a VIP tour, if I'm not mistaken. My sister-in-law looked into it. I think it was like $6.99 a day
per person.
Well, we got.
No, I don't think it's per person. I think
it's per person.
No.
It's so much per hour, and there's a limited. I'm sorry, there's a minimum number of hours.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's steep.
And I know they're doing them again. I've seen them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, you'll see more in the Magic Kingdom than the other parks, but they're everywhere.
I know. Yeah, as it's a lot of the social influencers who are making.
You mean the 1%ers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They're making tons of money doing.
Mhm.
I wish I had that personality and that face. That are just they can afford it, and yeah, a lot of them are posting about their official tour.
Yeah.
$4.25 to $8.50 an hour, with a minimum of 7 continuous hours, and your party may include up to 10 guests, including infants.
Okay.
So I thought it was around $2,000 roughly.
Well, no, it's more than that.
More than that.
Minimum 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, minimum 7
yeah.
hours, $4.25 to $8.50 an hour, depending on the season. So Christmas time, you're looking
Yeah.
at $8.50 an hour.
Right.
Mhm.
$8.50. Yeah. Hey,
That's $6,000
pocket change. Come on.
for 10 people. So it would be close to $600 per person
Yeah.
Yeah.
for 7 hours.
Yeah.
At that time of year. God, that's insane.
That's how much it went up since she looked into it the first time.
It's just, and you know what? People are paying it.
Yeah.
Fun world we live in now.
What's the jackpot of the lottery right now?
Yeah, I know.
Right. I have to check my tickets, by the way.
I'll send you my address if you want. So there
Okay.
you go. I'll send you my bank account information.
Sounds good.
All right. Any other thoughts on the fifth gate?
Fill in the gaps first. Like Darlene said, I agree with Darlene. I think we've been saying that for the last 2 shows now. Fill in the gaps first.
I think it'll help. I don't think that's a solution long term though for Disney, and I think they kind of know that, but I don't think I just don't think they're there yet for a fifth park. I think we'll see a few resorts first, new resorts, I should say. And you know, we also spoke about the influx of people to this area that are moving here permanently now. Not to mention all the hotels that are coming in. It's just, it's great for Florida. It's great for this area, for the economy, to have all this influx of tourists and residents. But is it great for Disney? And I don't expect anybody to answer that. That was just the question to just leave hanging out there. All right. We're going to end the show right here, right now. Mostly right now. I do want to mention something that I forgot to mention at the top of the show that I do want to bring up now. One of our podcasters who does the news with us, Jess, welcomed in a third child this week, Anita.
Yay.
Beautiful little girl. Congratulations to Jess and her family. I wish them a lifetime of happiness for the whole family and good luck going forward. And it's great that.
Here.
Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here. We'll be back next week. Oh, no, we'll be back Sunday night we're going to be recording a show Sunday night, a special show, a Disney Cruise Line show, to answer questions that a lot of you may have that Lottie will be asking us. And we'll hope to inform you a bit about Disney cruising and all that kind of fun stuff. I'm tired. I can't think. All right. So until then, be safe. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
See you real soon.
Well, in honor of our show coming up for Lottie on Sunday, I just have to say, somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. See you on Sunday.
I thought he was going to do a Popeye impersonation.
Oh, gracious. Have a magical night. Stay safe. Please wear a mask and get vaccinated or boosted.